In the 17th century, a German alchemist named Hennig Brand had a bold idea. He boiled vats of urine, hoping to unlock the secret of turning base materials into gold. What he created didn't make anyone rich. Instead, it gave the world one of the most feared substances in existence: white phosphorus, a waxy, glowing chemical that suffocates, poisons, and burns down to the bone. A substance that terrifies soldiers and doctors alike. Once ignited, it cannot be extinguished until it's gone, or until the flesh it tunnels through has been consumed. Victims are unmistakable. Their wounds smolder, their organs fail, and sometimes, their very bodies glow in the dark. You might imagine that using such a thing against civilians would be a war crime. But thanks to loopholes in international law, militaries continue to use white phosphorus to this very day. The birth of a deadly substance, Brand discovered it in 1669. When he burned the residue of urine, a ghostly vapor condensed into a glowing wax. Phosphorus, named from the Greek light bearer. At first, no one thought it dangerous. Pharmacists even sold it in pills to treat asthma and gout, or to improve intelligence. Of course, it did none of those things. By the 1800s, Charles Soria had found a new use: matches. White phosphorus became the ignition agent in lucifer matches. That's when the deaths began. Factory workers inhaled phosphorus vapor daily. It rotted their jaws from the inside out in a condition known as phossy jaw. Teeth fell out. Faces collapsed. In 1 out of 5 cases, the victims died. Eventually, the matches were banned. But by then, the poison had already spread into rat killers and into murder plots. White phosphorus in food or drink causes vomiting, seizures, liver failure, and agonizing death. In mid-20th century Britain, a wave of so-called Rodine murders saw husbands and widows alike killed with phosphorus-laced meals. Even Agatha Christie picked up on the trend, weaving glowing corpses into her murder mysteries. Finally, in 1963, phosphorus rat poison was banned. But the world had already found another, far more destructive use: weaponization. During World War I, the British Army stuffed grenades with white phosphorus. The Americans and Japanese soon followed, and by World War II, phosphorus was a staple of modern warfare. Nicknamed Willy Pete, it was prized for one reason: smoke. When ignited, phosphorus creates vast, billowing clouds that blind enemies, hide advancing troops, and choke the lungs of anyone caught inside. Against German tanks, against Japanese soldiers, and later, in the tunnels of Vietnam, it became a weapon of choice. But the smoke wasn't the true horror. The real nightmare was its fire. At temperatures of up to 300 degrees Celsius, white phosphorus sticks to flesh, burrows deep, and will not stop burning. The only way to halt it is to cut away the particles, or smother the wound in mud or water. But even then, once exposed to air, it can reignite, sometimes weeks later. Doctors treating victims have reported flames leaping from wounds as bandages are removed. Civilian tragedies. In 2009, Israeli forces fired phosphorus shells into northern Gaza. Families were engulfed in flames that no one could put out. One mother described holding her infant daughter as the child melted in her arms. "I couldn't save them," she said. "I couldn't help them." In Afghanistan that same year, an 8-year-old girl named Razia was struck in her home. 40% of her body was burned. Her scalp and face peeled away in her father's hands. Even as U.S. doctors tried to save her, the oxygen mask they placed on her face reignited the phosphorus embedded in her skin. When nurses tried to clean her wounds, her flesh burst back into flames. Miraculously, Razia survived. But her face was scarred forever. Her hair never grew back, and her pain never truly ended. The loophole. You'd think such horrors would be banned outright. But here's the loophole. International law prohibits incendiary weapons against civilians. But phosphorus is in T classified as an incendiary, not if it is used as a smokescreen. So long as militaries claim they're deploying it for cover, not for killing, it remains legal. That's how the US justified its use in Fallujah, Iraq, in 2004. At first, officials denied it. Then they admitted it, but insisted it was only for concealment. Yet their own field artillery journal told another story. They described shake and bake missions, firing phosphorus to flush enemies from hiding, then killing them with explosives. Up to 6,000 civilians may have died. The burning legacy. Human rights groups have pleaded to close the loophole. But powerful nations, including the US and Russia, resist. They want to keep phosphorus in their arsenals. And so, the victims continue to burn. One woman, who lost her family in Gaza, put it in words no law can erase. I was on fire. Now, I am still burning. All over. White phosphorus. Discovered by accident. Weaponized by design. And still, to this day, burning its way through both flesh and history.